You can move a mountain. Have you ever heard it said, faith moves mountains? And you've kind of been puzzled by that. Like you've thought, I've never seen it happen. And as much as I've tried to trust the Lord, sometimes things that I want to happen don't happen. Faith moves mountains. One of the times Jesus talked about this, he previously had been walking into the city of Jerusalem, and there was a fig tree. So Jesus was hungry. It was early in the morning, and he sees that the fig tree had lots of leaves on it. Well, lots of leaves on a fig tree meant that there should be fruit on it. That's the way that it worked. So he goes up to the tree and sees that it doesn't have any fruit. Well, that meant that there was something big time wrong with the tree, and so he said to the tree, "May you never bear fruit again." He cursed the tree. And then he and his disciples, they walked on. Well, the next day when they came past the fig tree, Peter looks, and sure enough, the fig tree is dead, dried up from the roots. And it appears that he was somewhat surprised by this because Jesus, in response to Peter's observation that the tree was dead, said, "Have faith in God. I tell you that if you say to this mountain, 'Be lifted up and thrown into the sea,' if you believe and do not doubt, it will happen." So there was something about Peter's surprise that the tree was dead that led Jesus to know that he needed to be encouraged to have faith, to trust, that he didn't yet understand as he ought the nature of Jesus, that he was God, that when God speaks, things happen. This shouldn't be a surprise. So why is it then that you haven't seen a lot of mountains go flying through the air and into the depths of the sea? Was Jesus saying that if you as a Christian feel that this needs to happen, that you can believe in your heart that it will happen, like whatever that means, like have really strong feelings, this should happen, and what you feel will take place? Well, that's not exactly what Jesus said, is it? What he said was, have faith in God. That is, when God has told you something, when God has promised you something, then be confident that what God says is true. And for Jesus then to talk about mountains lifting up and being thrown into the depths of the sea, what he was really doing is saying, like, a fig tree, killing a fig tree, that might be impressive to you, but let's think of the most blow your mind kind of physical action that a person could take. I mean, to lift up a mountain and throw it into the sea, would that blow your mind? And what the Lord is saying is that when you are trusting in God, things that blow your mind can happen. Now the question is whether throwing a mountain into the depth of the sea is the most amazing thing that could ever happen. Let's think about something more amazing than that. Maybe there is a child whose parents have not been acting in a Christian way, or at least one of them is doing something that is breaking the marriage. And so there is a divorce, and you're a friend to this child who is a Christian but is beginning to wonder what his or her future is, and just feel completely left without a solid piece of ground to stand on when you're a child in a situation like that. Can you promise that Christian child that God will work this out for that little person's eternal good, in spite of the sin that is playing out before their eyes, that God is so powerful? Absolutely, you can tell that child that, because God has made that promise. God has promised. And if God promises the most blow your mind incredible thing, you can know that it will happen. So ask him to do that. Ask God to do the impossible. And do not doubt. Don't doubt. I know our sinful flesh feels that we have every reason to question that God will keep the promises, amazing ones that he's made to us. But as you know that God can be trusted, as you see him say to a fig tree, die, and it dies, as you see him say, your sins are forgiven, and watch Jesus bear the eternal consequences of our sin, you know that the Lord keeps every promise he makes. Hang on to that promise. Even if God were to promise something to you as incredible as, now, I want you to move a mountain, And here's my clear word. As far as we know, God hasn't said that to us, but he's promised things way more unbelievable than that. Trust him and know that God will do exactly what he has said.